Uganda. I'm Robert Chirabo, in case you've just joined, and thank you so much for being part of this show. I must also remind you that we are here every weekday from 6:30. So make it a date with us, because the Fantastic Four and of course a big team behind the cameras and the technical wing make sure we spice up your morning with some moment of laughter, some jokes here. The night could have been a bit long, but there's something that will usher you and put a smile on your face, yet very informative. And even you get to know whether it will rain or not. Where it will rain, Molen Zoro is there to give you that update. And of course, you can't afford the old folks. Felix is always there, and me, myself, to ensure that we do that, not forgetting Molen, who usually leads, not forgetting Philo, who leads the team. So tomorrow, make it a date in case today you've just met the program along the way. This is an extension, and it is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Now today is the reading of the national budget for financial year 2023-2024. And what does that mean? We now know how much we expect to collect. That is if URA hits our target, that is the domestic revenue. But also if those that we expect to give us grants and we plan to seek loans do that, because we are going to be discussing what we expect to collect, not what we've collected, but what we expect to collect and how we plan to use the monies we are going to collect. Now, joining me on set this morning is Francis Kisirinya, who happens to be the Chief Membership Officer, Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Now, when I look at this budget, for this financial year 2023-2024, private sector development comes number 4 among programs that have gotten good monies. So they come number 4 because you have human capital development number 1, governance and security number 2, then we have integrated transport infrastructure and services coming number 3. So private sector development comes number 4. Good morning, Francis.
Good morning, Mr. Kilavo, and good morning, our viewers.
You must be happy, despite that this doesn't go to Private Sector Foundation, but at least it falls within your bracket. But to begin with, help my viewers understand, what does Private Sector Foundation do?
Private Sector Foundation in Uganda, dear viewers, is the apex body of the private sector. Now, whoever does private sector work, or whoever does not depend on a check from government by way of a salary, that person is in private sector. So we are talking about people who are doing trade, people who are in agriculture, people who are in manufacturing, people who are in insurance, in banking, you know, all of these people, logistics, a lorry driver, wherever, all of these people are the private sector. So Private Sector Foundation Uganda represents and brings together all of these people to help them, first of all, engage with the authorities, with the policy makers, with the government. It is very important. I can tell you, like the budget that is being read today, there is the private sector need to engage very much with the government, because government doesn't trade, it doesn't manufacture, doesn't know. So it needs to talk to those people who do the work so that the policies they do can actually be beneficial. Now, the second thing that we do as Private Sector Foundation, we are required to work with you, the private sector, so that we both grow. We can grow each other. So that is the other second job we do. So the third one is for us to work with the private sector to improve its capacity to do business and trade through skilling, through increasing capacity in technology and so many other things. So that is what Private Sector Foundation is all about. So to be, not everybody now can be a member of private sector. What happens is that all the business people in Uganda are represented by certain members. So those members are mostly associations. Associations are also membership organizations. So they are the ones. So you as a private sector person or entity first associate or first come together under an association, like Uganda Manufacturers for the manufacturers, farmers for the farmers, small-scale industry for the small industry, bankers for the bankers. So now it is these associations that become a member of PSFU.
So the members in these associations elect representatives?
Yes. So those, yes. So those 316 are the direct members. But otherwise, 2.5 million business entities are indirect members of PSFU. So now it is through this structure, bottom up, that now we can get the voices, we can get the views, we can get the concerns of the private sector, distill them or work with them, ensure that we are able to harmonize and align them across, so that what we take to government to engage is something that is agreed upon by everybody. So there could be an issue that is affecting manufacturers, you know, so we talk about it with everybody else, so that even the traders, even the farmers can also align and be associated with that issue. So if they think there is something that we need to change in that issue, we change it, and by the time we get to the government, everybody is satisfied that this is the position that the private sector is talking.
So it's the apex body?
It is the apex body, sir.
Now in your definition, if I got you right, you said it involves the business sector, anybody who doesn't get a paycheck from government.
Yes.
But I know a number of businesses owned by people in government. So doesn't that, if for example, I get a paycheck from government, now if I have my business, don't I qualify to be a member of the private sector? Because I may be already a member of our association already.
No, I think there is totally no problem at all. You were actually an investor in the business. So the business is the member of PSFU. Now, after you've done or whatever you do with the government, and now come into the private business, you are a member then.
Okay.
You are a member then, yes.
Now, you rightly said that you get the views of your members, polish them up, come to us, common ground, then present them to government.
Yes.
And equally act as a bridge.
Yes.
Now, we know Uganda's budgets are now consultative. Would I be right if I said that those that seem oppressive to the people in the business community, you have a hand in it? Were you consulted? There were a number of consultative processes. If private sector foundation was consulted, what was your input? And is it reflected then finally in this budget?
Yes, the budget making, as you said today, is actually very much consultative process. And the mechanism that government uses now in terms of policy making is the engagement. So private sector foundation has been consulted extensively by policymakers in developing all policies, including the budget. I can tell you, like last year's budget, as PSFU, the issues that we brought from the business community and talked to government, they took 74% of those issues. That is last year. Now, what does this talk to? This one says that much as they consult us, perhaps they are not obliged to take everything that we put on the table. But I'm so happy that if you take 74% of what we are proposing, perhaps you can say that they have taken the majority of the issues. Now, having said that, it means that sometimes there could be issues that are not taken over. So as private sector foundation in Uganda, our job is to put these issues on the table. Now it is the policymaker to take or leave. Now if they leave, it doesn't become our issue. But what we've learned over a long time in policy making, it is really a process. These processes sometimes take years, very many years, to really fruit. But at least they do. At least they do, and we know that government listens. We are improving our own abilities to really engage them, and they also increase the forums through which we engage them, and we can see that they're really responding.
What are some of those outstanding that you can say in the financial year ending, why you consulted, you proposed them, and they were captured among the 74? A few outstanding.
I think the issues that are outstanding are mainly on the tax side. For instance, we do have the issue of the digital tax stamps. what they call DTS. Now, DTS is a mechanism that the government is using to really improve tax administration. Now, we have a view as the private sector on how DTS really should be implemented. One of our biggest challenges with the DTS, apart from the others, is that it is very expensive. Those cost of those stamps are quite high. And we had proposed that these rates should be reduced so that now the product that comes to the market with a stamp is more affordable to the consumer, you know. But that we have not yet won that argument, but we are still continuing to engage. So that is one of the examples. The other examples where we have not actually succeeded are, for instance, in the area of improving the transport infrastructure. We have insisted for a long time that we must ensure that most of the commercial transport, the transport for goods, should actually be mainly on rail and water. But up to today, I don't think we have really succeeded that much. And it is not surprising that the cost of production in Uganda is significantly high because of transport. But it is an engagement which we engage in.
So where have you
every year.
succeeded?
Every year. Now, where we have succeeded, for instance, we engaged government and said, our biggest problem as the private sector in Uganda, for some years, 5 years ago, I think that's when the problem started now. The problem, beside the COVID and the Ukraine issues, but we've had a long outstanding problem of having people, consumers, who don't have the capacity to buy the goods we put on the market. So the implication is that a number of business establishments, factories, are not selling all what they produce. You have other facilities, other business establishments like hotels. They are not having every room that they have constructed occupied by a client. You have rental properties. There are some that don't have tenants, and so many more. So we said we really must work on the issue of improving our ability to consume. And the ability to consume is through income, money. So we know today that 39% of Ugandans are not in the money economy. If money is circulating, people don't even know how it looks. They are not there. But they want to consume stuff.
Yes.
If you want to consume maybe a little of milk or something like that, either it is the parents or the relatives who do this for them and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like that. So we really have to get these people to start earning money. So we advocated so much for expanding of opportunities for people to earn money. So it is these opportunities where we have seen government making some moves. For instance, the intervention of parish development model is basically to bring in people who were not in the commercial world, people who are not working for money, to start working for money. You know? So the PDM is supposed, and I think is doing this work now, is look at what do these people need. Work with them so that they can start producing. We know for today, for sure, that there is, if starting with the other years and last year, investments have started going in, especially from the perspective of extending financial resources that people can use to start producing and sell. So that, we hope, that intervention is going to help in expanding people with money. And when we expand people with money,
Purchasing power.
The purchasing power will increase. So meaning you'll have more people who can buy things, and therefore there will be more products from factories that will be consumed, and then you'll start having growth in the factories, in all the other economic spheres, end up creating more jobs, more taxes. You know, that is an area of success that we can mention. The second area where we think there's been success in the infrastructure for production. You know, infrastructure for production talks about very specific roads that give you economic benefit there and then. Like, for instance, if you created roads in the tourism areas, all right, it means that the tourists can move more quickly. You can have, because the experience is a little bit good. So when people go back, they say, oh, they love all this experience. So they market and other tourists come in. So then, now you have more tourism. So we have seen investments in tourism. It is still insufficient, but work has gone there. We've seen investments in dams for electricity, and today you are seeing that we have excess power. That is because we've prioritized and engaged government significantly on investing in matters that help infrastructure for production. Now, recently we've engaged so much on matters to do with water for production. You know, our country, the beauty is, it is almost 30% of it is water. You know, if you look at the lakes, the rivers, the swamps, all over. Now, this water is meant to be used for production. You know, God is so kind to Uganda, by the way, because we've been receiving rain, you know. But now we've started seeing some irregularity in rain because of issues that have come in, climate change and stuff like that. So we are saying that production, especially agriculture, should not be overly dependent on the rains and the irregularities. Have irrigation systems which can enable you to supplement or to produce even without rain. Now, we know that government, starting last year's budget, allocated the resources and programs to help with irrigation, the solar pump irrigation projects that the government is running. That is an area of success. Government has prioritized the standard gauge railway. We know that. I think the issue is now about... What do you call
prioritizing?
Prioritizing is to say this is something that we want to... Yes, prioritize to say this is something among all the things we want to do. This is something that is a priority. So I think we are going to start, and starting from this budget, from the information we got in the budget consultations, and of course what was agreed in Parliament, some work is going to begin on establishing of the rail. So these and many others have actually been successes. Oh, I have not mentioned one of the biggest ones, of course, and most important. We engaged, you know, some years ago, government had decided to withdraw from doing business, and there was privatization and so many things. So we used to have some key government companies that were so important in the development agenda, like Uganda Development Corporation, like Uganda Development Bank. So somehow they got neglected along the way because everything, the direction had changed. So we kept on saying and discussing with the government that you need to really put effort to revive Uganda Development Corporation, to revive and capitalize Uganda Development Bank. And I'm happy today to say that Uganda Development Bank is starting to receive capitalization, getting money that can extend to the private sector to invest in a development projects. So this is helping in two ways. One, that you can access money that is a bit longer term now. You can access money that can even go to up to 15 years. But before, you could not access money as a business person beyond 5 years because commercial banks rarely do this. Yes. Two, the interest rates in commercial banks is quite high, but in a development bank, they are lower. So now, that is also an area. It is still insufficient, and we need to continue investing in UDB. And also, the private sector people, when you get money from UDB, use it well, take it back, so that other people can access it. So these are some of the few successes among the many that we've actually...
Now, rightly talked about the successes, and I must say, yes, there are steps in the right direction, but you triggered me when you talked about recapitalization of Uganda Development Bank. Now, a number of your members, this sounds good to them, but the private sector has had a number of challenges with government initiatives more so after COVID-19, the initiatives that were put in place, putting money in UDB, then there was about 200 billion put for the traders. Remember that amount of money. But it seems that they failed to tap into these opportunities. Because, Francis, as we agree, we may say government has really tried so much in availing funds. But the biggest challenge has been the right people getting these funds and also knowing how to access them. Once I had a chat with members from Kasita, Kampala Cattle Traders Association, now Kasita, Uganda, and some would tell you, we don't even know the bureaucracy. Yes, we know it's government money, and you have to pay it back. But they'll talk about the bureaucracy. One time, Mr. Chesisto told me, mention a single trader who has benefited from the 200 billion. Yet my brother from Private Sector Foundation would say, we discussed with government and this is a breakthrough. UDB, with a lot of money there put. If you're to, many would be because you said you want to grow the private sector.
Yes.
You want to help those in the informal sector to get to the formal sector, be able to expand, grow their businesses, get loans, get national markets. But then these initiatives you push for are not in tandem.
Yeah, it's not really, and I really thank you for raising that particular matter. It's not a secret that we sometimes get it incorrect in implementation. You can see all reports we have looked at in terms of implementation of government initiatives. The implementation is still not at the level we want. So it is a challenge for us as a country to look at what really is the barrier. Why don't we get it right? For instance, if money is put in the Uganda Development Bank or in the Small Business Recovery Fund, why is it that it is not reaching the people it is meant to reach? Those are the things we need to unblock. So even for us, we have identified implementation of projects and of interventions as one of the biggest challenges, and we keep on reminding government about this. Government, please improve the way you implement. Even the budget, it is going to be read, but its implementation will face challenges, just like all of the others have done. So this is the problem. But having said that, I must also advise the members of the private sector to take opportunity and listen out and understand where government priorities are. Because most of these interventions, where money is put in priority sectors, because government doesn't have money for everybody. So they have some priority sectors. For sure, I know that now the priorities are in agriculture, they're in manufacturing, they're in tourism. And even in agriculture, and even in all of those sectors, there are some sub-sectors where the priorities are. Now, if you don't belong in those sub-sectors, it's not possible that you are going to access the money that is availed. So that is a problem. So learn that. The second thing, as the private sector, let us learn to make ourselves ready to receive or to work with outside partners. So what do I mean by outside partners? Outside partners is likely to be a government intervention, a government project. It's likely to be a development bank or a bank. It's likely to be a grant agency that can give you a grant. It's likely to be an investor. Now, what do these people, the common denominator of what all these people need is that you must be a formal company. You must be registered, people know where you are trading. You have an address, you have a record, a track record. Now, you must have records. Write out the operations of your business. Write out your sales. Write out your expenses. Prepare financial statements and have them audited. You know? Now, when you have those things, of course, plus other things that might not be so mandatory or so major that they want.
Connections?
Now, connections.
Your members of your group have always argued that, well, connections influence these things.
For us, we call them networks. So networks are important in doing business, you know. who can give you information about external opportunity. These are networks. That's why PSF is there. That's why Uganda Manufacturers Association is there. That's why Federation of Small Enterprise is there. Because we create that platform for networking, you know. So when we go to, when we get events, we get some programs, we even engage, we bring in government people, donors. So when we invite you, you come and you meet them directly, talk to them, get their business card. It will give you that particular connection that you need. So don't worry so much that you need, no, you can get those things from networking with the others. This is
well, I'll be going for a short break, but when I return, we'll be now looking at the budget for 2023-2024 financial year and see what is there for the private sector, apart from just saying it is number 4 benefiting from this budget. What is there? And that which is there, how much of that is for service delivery and development of the private sector, away from just excitement that, well, we got this amount of money out of what you got. What is that is really going to come and cause the transformation? And will it anyway? I'll go for a break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange, haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
The Magical Egypt Tour 2023 is here. A heavenly miracle waiting across the natural and divine attractions of Egypt, such as Cairo, Giza Pyramids, Saqqara, Memphis, and many more that will offer the gift of a lifetime. The chance to unlock all of the hidden powers of mind and soul, gain the enlightenment of the past and the future, and develop the power of healing. Departure will be Friday 16th up to 23rd June 2023. Basic package starting at $1,200, 8 days and 7 nights. To register, come to Gotove Tours and Travel at Nalukwago Complex Suta, UG Extender, George Street, Nakasero, or call +256 758 530 059 or +256 784 568 392 or WhatsApp +256 782 556 078. Only few slots are left. Powered by UBC Television.
The National Budget Speech Reading for the financial year 2023-2024 will take place on the 15th of June 2023 at Kololo Independence Grounds under the theme Full Monetization of Uganda's Economy through Commercial Agriculture, Industrialization, Expanding and Broadening Services, Digital Transformation and Market Access. Follow the conversation on the hashtag KnowYourBudget23.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. It is still Good Morning Uganda Extra, and in case you've just joined, I'm Robert Cherawo Nyonyintono, and my guest this morning happens to be Francis Kisirinya, who is the Chief Membership Officer at the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Now, the budget that is going to be read today gives private sector development 1.8 trillion shillings. Now, he is from Private Sector Foundation, but under this budget also lies the Private Sector Foundation. They are not the ones receiving the money. Please don't waylay the man. But they fall under this docket. Now, Francis, when we talk about this money, first as private sector, how do you feel being number 4 regarding budget allocation?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chirabo. I think I need to emphasize, viewers outside there, that it is so crucial to develop the private sector in Uganda. Because whatever you think about is going to be done by the private sector. So you must have a very specific intervention and program.
So if you're looking at getting priorities right, a private sector being number 4 in allocation, was it a right?
It's a right direction.
Okay.
And we really engaged so much when we were developing NDP 3. We really said there must be a specific program for private sector development. So we are happy that now the resources that are being allocated are starting to increase so that the private sector can play its rightful role. The slogans of saying private sector is the engine of the economy must be followed up by words, by actions. Now we are starting to see those actions so that the private sector can actually do it. But I must emphasize, this money is to help grow the entire private sector in Uganda, looking at things that affect how we do business, that things that affect the business environment, intervention that we need to make to ensure that the cost of capital comes down, the cost of money comes down. It is one of the things that this budget is part of the 1.8 billion. So the investments that you are going to see that are going to Uganda Development Bank, that are going to circles through the Microfinance Support Center, you know, those monies are through this particular program to address those particular challenges. There are issues that we need to do, for instance, to increase exports, you know. These interventions are being put in this private sector development. But before I go ahead, let me also add my voice to yours by saying this 1.8 trillion is not coming to private sector foundation in Uganda. No. We don't have a slice as an institution. No. The money is with the government, but it's going to run activities and interventions that are like the ones that I've mentioned.
Maybe also to get it right now, from you, just on that, does your mandate extend maybe to a bit of monitoring and supervision? Because when you look at this money, like the one that will of course go to Uganda Development Bank, we look at this money, that part that is actually a big chunk going into parish development model. So does private sector, do you do maybe an oversight, try to, because this is where sometimes what is good goes rotten.
I think up to now, we've not been doing oversight because it's not really our mandate. We are not a government agency that we can actually superintend and police government. No. But I think we would start engaging from that perspective to ensure that we also are aware of what is happening. For instance, the parish development model, the pillar of access to finance, or what they call financial inclusion,
which has dominated and silenced others, yet there are several.
Yeah, there are several pillars. The financial inclusion is part of this private sector development program. And if I'm aware that about $1 trillion shillings has been put in here. Now, that money is meant, as I said, to give capital to people who have never done any activity that is making money for them. So we would like to see that this money, we would like the implementers, make sure that when you look at your parish, because it is parish based, pick out those people who they have the capacity to work, they are willing to work, but they don't have the resources and they have never done any commercial activities. Go for them. Don't go for people who are already in the commercial area, because if you go for them, you will not have added value.
Like we've recently seen some case files opened of people who are doing that.
It is not right, and please, I would like to urge you, the implementers, and our fellow private sector people who are doing business in the parishes, please don't get tempted to start accepting this money, it's not for you. If you already have a wholesale shop, you already have a drug shop, you know, you already are a trader, you aggregate, you buy produce, the money is not for you. It is for the other people who don't. Now, these people, when they get money, find it to come to you, by the way.
Yes, because they have
Because they are going to
power.
come and buy your inputs, farm inputs like the drugs. They're going to buy seeds from you. Then when they are finished, you're going to go and buy the produce from them. So the money will come to you like that. But don't go for it. Let the other guy, that gentleman, that lady who has not been receiving, let them be the ones to get that money. They start economic activities. Give them advice. Mentor them so that they are able to get into the economy. Then when they get into the economy, you will see everybody's life changing because you'll have more people buying things. Your shop that was serving 20 people, will start serving 80 people. That is wealth.
I wish.
I can tell you small countries. Look at a small country like Switzerland, under 3 million population. We are almost 50 million. But their GDP, the size of the economy, is so big. Why? Because everybody does something that generates money, that gives them money. So they produce the goods, some they sell outside the country, some they use themselves, so they become rich. And that's what that's why I want to go. And that's the rationale of having this PDM pillar in a private sector development.
So that no one is left behind.
So please, we've heard stories that you people who are implementing PDM, you are giving this money to the already established people. It is wrong.
Relatives, friends, comrades.
Don't do it because you are undermining a very good thing. We are keeping ourselves in poverty because of that. Don't do it. Implement properly. The people who are supposed to monitor, please, monitor properly. As I have said, don't worry. You don't have to get the money directly. No. Just get your own, improve your own production, productivity, stock, and whatever have you. Those people will come and buy from you. And there will be many more, and we will have a sustainable economy.
Well, I've been looking at you laboring to explain that to Ugandans. And how I wish they could understand you. I hope they have. Because when money clocks, there is so much thirst to spend and partake of it. But where I come from, there's a saying that so you may get this parish development money, think you're buying a few sacks of what, and then you're killing people who would buy what you have, so that you go and again you bring more stock and sell. But also to the implementers, you know, sometimes usually I think it's the lay person that needs correction. Father Francis says that technical people, they don't need mindset change. Yet the very people, the messenger here and implementer, need a very big mindset change for them to deliver. But away from that, now Francis, away from parish development model and these monies, what is that you feel, looking at the breakdown of this money, is a pivotal point to the private sector?
The biggest pivot is parish development. But the second one is the investments that are going into the microfinance institutions, that the money that is going to Uganda Development Bank. It is so important to help even small and medium enterprise businesses to access capital that they should be using to create goods, which goods they will sell and make money. And from what we see, this money is, first of all, like for instance, for the microfinance money, the requirements are not as difficult, Colorado and stuff like that. So, meaning that many more people can actually access that money. So it is going to be, and it is something that is going to be helpful to the country. Now, the third thing that is happening in the private sector development program is in terms of helping to improve the business environment from the perspective of the laws and regulations that we use to run the economy. Now, we have issues that have been pending for a long time, which we would like to conclude under this particular program. So, under the NDPs, there were a number of laws that were identified to be dealt with. Competition law is one of them. You know, there are all those laws on counterfeits, on stuff like that. So, those things must be done to make sure that the business environment is helping everybody. Everybody has equal right to trade, to manufacture, to do farming, and make money. That is important. But having said that, within the entire framework of the entire budget, you can see that from even the budget framework paper that we have already gone through, together with the allocations that have been made, there is the direction that we are taking is actually correct in our view. If you look at the elements, the theme, if you look at its elements of the theme, if you look at things like full monetization, so important that everybody or everything is monetized. Two, if you look at commercialization of agriculture, so critical because we earn very little from selling or having agriculture that is not commercialized. So we need to make sure that we have commercial agriculture. There are these systems that help it, you know, systems that help it to help everybody. Then the other thing is on...
Before you move from commercial agriculture, I'm very passionate about agriculture, and I know we are a signatory to a number of declarations that commit us to a certain percentage of our budget into agriculture, but we've never achieved this. And here you are, you're saying these are very good initiatives, where we say for African countries or members in this particular grouping, let's make sure that at least 15% of our budgets go to agriculture. We've never done that. When we talk about agriculture, but you have 60% of the population in subsistence agriculture, only about 40% in commercial agriculture. And still, we don't see serious mechanization, you know. You still go to people, use prisoners to cultivate big farms. You've talked about irrigation. We still depend on rainfall-fed agriculture. Now the rain season is at the end. You're going to see many people rushing. The sun, you know. So are we walking the talk, or are we just talking about agriculture, yet in actual implementation? And that brings in the National Development Plan, phase 3. Yeah. Is this budget in tandem with the National Development Plan?
I think your concerns are our concerns, Mr. Chilabo. The work that we need to do in agriculture is extensive, and we have to do and complete it. I'll give you a very good example. The example is what we are suffering today as a country, trying to market our agriculture products to Kenya, to Sudan, and to some other countries. They're telling us that, you see, your maize, for instance, is not up to the quality standard. It has aflatoxins. And aflatoxins, my friend, is something that you are going to expect as long as we continue to do our agriculture in the same way. It's not yet commercialized. What we need to deal with these issues of aflatoxins is to deal with how do we harvest and how do we handle the harvest. So you'll find we don't have good storage facilities.
Post-harvest challenges.
Yes. So because we don't have good storage facilities and the handling, then our products get contaminated. It is very, very important for, as this budget is implemented, to make sure that we look at this particular perspective, because we are going to stop having, we are going to lose these markets. Today, as we speak, so many trucks, over 62 and more, are held up in Sudan because the authorities there are saying these products
are not fit for consumption.
But they have also refused us to standards bodies to check and confirm what they are saying. But we give them the opportunity to, if Kenya says it has aflatoxins, you know, so the other people also get an excuse if they want to play games. So what we need to do is to to ensure that we commercialize agriculture, make more allocations as is necessary. But even when the allocations have been made, like in this budget, they have made allocations, let the implementation be made so that we deal with this problem once and for all. So from a direction perspective, it is okay. From implementation perspective, we have challenges. Everybody has to pull up their socks and ensure that we do the right thing. Now, if you look at, they have also talked about industrialization. We're a resource-based country, we need to industrialize. We have minerals, we have agriculture. All of these things, we can add value on them, and it gives us more money. And the more money, you know, if you do industrialization, it has that ability to give you additional value and to spread wealth to all the various players. So if you grow coffee and sell it as a bean, your value stops there at the farm level. But if you now go to value addition and manufacturing, now you start adding on other things. People who are transporting are going to get money. People who are sorting at the factories are going to get money. The factories themselves are going to employ people. They are going to buy things in the market. They are going to use standards. They are going to use banks. They are going to use financial insurance. You know, they are going to use technical services like consultants. They are going to get into exports. So all of these are...
But even still there is a challenge. Well, time is running, but there is a challenge I find when we drum drums for industrialization. The budget, we've also allocated good money for industrialization. Where are we having your group as a priority? Because most of the times you have foreigners, and His Excellency does a very good work. We want to commend him to bring in, even recently we saw in Aruero, where we are having members of the royal family of the United Arab Emirates coming to set up a factory, an industry there, still agricultural processing, value addition. Now, we have a challenge of profit repatriation in Uganda. And we find that more often we tend to cherish the foreign investors vis-a-vis the domestic investor. And this then does not promote private sector. Yes, you look at these because they're members of the private sector, but this fellow Ugandan, you find them in cheap labor, you know, you find them, sometimes we don't have clear policies of who maybe to sharehold or, and I feel like someone is taking from us, taking back, yet we are getting peanuts.
I think very importantly, sir, is that, of course, we have shortages, shortage of capital. So we need the foreign direct people who come with their capital here to invest here. We need them. And we need the incentives to attract them because they can go elsewhere. But what must be done too is that the incentives that you give to people who are coming from outside should be the same or even better incentive for the locals because the locals also are investors in their country. So we need to do that and equalize. Now, having said that, now from the budget perspective, we are seeing some challenges, even if all these, from a direction perspective, it seems to be correct. Now, we are seeing challenges on the financing of this budget. You know, 52 trillion, 29 trillion is going to come from domestic resources.
29 from 0.7, we are milking Ugandans for that.
29. So, from 25 last year to 29, so we're going to add 24 trillion plus to be got from the local taxpayers. In an economy that is really has been struggling to emerge from the COVID effects and then Ukraine, it is going to be tough. Now, we know that a lot of administrative measures are going to be put in place or are being done to ensure that the URA can collect as much as possible. And you know, there are things that are being done, closing up businesses, then court orders or what they call garnishi orders, you know, telling a customer that, you know, if that guy he has supplied, instead of paying them, pay me instead, because they owe taxes. These things are not going to be helpful to the private sector. Therefore, I would like to urge you, as the taxes are being collected, to understand, as they collect the taxes, to understand that the private sector has suffered so much. It's just emerging. Let us give them, let us be human, let us understand and not constrain the businesses, because if we constrain them, then they won't be able to give the
No wonder we are told that about number of businesses don't live to see their first birthday. They open, they shut.
Yeah, that is one. The second thing on the financing, government has, because either it gets shortage of money or whatever, it takes goods from the private sector and doesn't pay. So you have all these areas piling, you know. We've seen an allocation, yes, it has increased and we're happy. But that is just a portion, it's a small fraction of the entire pile of debt that the government owes the private sector suppliers. We are really seeing companies hamstrung, collapsing because government cannot pay, and if they cannot pay them, they can't pay their bankers. We've listened to several stories. So I would like to urge government, very importantly, stop taking goods from the private sector and take long to pay. Pay within the period that you have agreed to pay. That is one. Don't take on more areas. Two, the areas that are there today, pay them up. Pay them up, and then we will be able to see the private sector that is thriving and is able to take on opportunities. You know, so that is something that also must be addressed.
Well, Francis, I must let you go. I'm seeing people coming in next, very prepared to continue with our programming. But thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome,
of course, an insight into the 2023-2024 financial year budget that is going to be read today. And Uganda Broadcasting Corporation will be broadcasting the event live. So wherever you are, be rest assured that you'll follow events as they unfold. I've been with Francis Kisi Rinya, who happens to be the Chief Membership Officer, Private Sector Foundation, Uganda. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing.